Welcome to Mickey, Marvel, and More, Disney news, commentary, and opinion. From theme parks to Thanos and from Skywalker to Skyliner, my family and I will discuss it all. So let's go!
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
Hello, Mark here, and welcome to another episode of Mickey, Marvel, and More. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're new here, welcome to the club. Or if you're one of our loyal listeners, thanks so much for coming back. We have a jam-packed episode to share with you this time. The big D23 fan event just happened, so instead of having any news from in and around the Disneyverse, Zack and I are going to sit down in the family chat and break down everything important that was announced at the D23 event. Quite frankly, that is the news in and around the Disneyverse right now. So let's get to it.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Welcome to the family chat. Today we're going to talk all about D23. What D23 is, for those that don't know, is it's labeled by Disney as a fan event. But essentially what it is it's Disney's showcase for everything that they're going to be doing over the next year, 2 years, 3 years with animation, movies, Lucasfilm, Marvel, Star Wars, theme parks, basically anything under the Disney umbrella. And they came up with that name years ago. D stands for Disney, and 23 stands for 1923, which is the year that Walt opened Walt Disney Animation Studios in Hollywood, for those that don't know that little bit of trivia. So to break all of this down, we're going to bring in Zachary from our Echo-based studios in an undisclosed bunker in Chicago. Welcome to the show, Zach.
I'm back, and we have a lot to talk about.
Oh my gosh, we certainly do. So let's get right to it. Quickly, let's touch on Disney's animated and film projects that they mentioned. Really, for us, most of the stuff I believe we knew in advance, but the only real true surprise was The Incredibles 3. I was not expecting that at all.
Yeah, that was a pretty big surprise. I really, like you said, I did not see that coming whatsoever. I mean, Incredibles has been a very lucrative franchise for them. It makes sense that they're making another one, especially with their current movie production model that they follow.
Mm-hmm.
But even with that, I wasn't even hearing like rumors or rumblings about an Incredibles 3. Like, this kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, that I don't think anybody really saw this coming, because Incredibles 2 truly felt like they wrapped up the whole story.
Yeah, and while Incredibles 2 did make them buckets of money, the reception was mixed. So I didn't know if they were going to make another one. And evidently, it looks like, a couple $1 billion is enough to justify a sequel, I guess.
I think so. I mean, because, yeah, Incredibles 2, it didn't quite have the heart of the original, and people had been clamoring for years for an Incredibles sequel, and it took them a very long time to get around to it. And now with Incredibles 3, Craig T. Nelson, who plays Mr. Incredible, I think he's in his early 70s, so I don't know how incredible he's going to sound when they record. I guess we'll find out. Of course, they also mentioned other things that we knew about: Toy Story 5, Moana 2, Zootopia 2, Frozen 3. What a big shock there.
Yeah, with Frozen, they even said, this story is so big, we will be splitting it into 2 movies. So,
oh boy, so Frozen 3 and 4.
Exactly.
So really, I guess the only original bit of filmmaking that's coming out of this is from Pixar, and it's a movie called Hoppers.
Yeah, it seems like a very odd movie just based on the description. So, I mean, I guess we're just going to have to see how that turns out. For those who don't know, all they've really said about Hoppers so far is that it's going to be a kind of a screwball comedy type movie where a boy switches brains with a beaver. John Hamm has been listed as one of the main voices in that movie. I don't know if he's going to be the beaver or the boy.
I have a feeling he'll probably be the beaver.
Yeah, makes sense. So very, very odd little movie. We're just going to have to see how that turns out. Interesting no original film announcements from Disney Animation Studios proper.
Yeah,
But again,
nothing but
that is
sequels.
that's very in line with what they're doing right now. So I don't know. It's probably going to be a little bit before we hear an original film coming from them,
All right.
and make of that what you will.
Sure. I mean, they announced various other projects, but to us, really the most interesting aspect as a family is the stuff that comes out of the travel portion, or they call it, what is it, experiences and
Yeah, the parks
products?
experiences,
Mm,
products.
Products and experiences is what they call it. Quickly, we'll mention that the Disney Cruise Line did say that they're going to get 4 new ships by 2031.
They're not even done with the current
I
ones.
know. I mean, so yeah, they had 3 more ships that are coming, and now they're going to have 4 more ships by 2031. Before before too long, you're not going to be able to step onto the ocean without stepping on a Disney Cruise Line boat.
Does give them the capability to expand where their cruises are going to, though.
Oh, for sure.
I think with either the Adventure or the Treasure. Is the Adventure one of the ships, or am I just making that
No,
up?
the Adventure is one of the ships. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I was making
The,
sure I wasn't going
well,
crazy.
the naming of these is starting to get lost on me. The Adventure, the Treasure.
Like I know one of them is going to be their first ever Southern Asia into Polynesian
Right.
cruise offering. So this, expansion of their fleet just allows them to bring these ships to more ports over the world, offering more opportunities, more areas of the world for people to see who are taking Disney Cruise Line.
Oh, for sure. I mean, because the Asian market is huge, they get a couple of boats over there. They're going to have all kinds of people taking Disney cruises.
Yes.
All right, so let's get to the meat of what we truly, really enjoy here in our household, which is the theme parks. So, this big, huge event, Josh Damaro, he mentioned that every single thing that they are talking about during their D23 panel is happening. None of this is blue sky. Quickly, what blue sky is essentially what it sounds like. Basically, dreams and wishes that they would like to produce. The last couple of D23s have been sort of a letdown because they were all blue sky. We would like to do this. We would like to do this. We might do these 6 things. And then they never really settle on anything. This year, he says everything they're talking about is in production or about to be in production. So let's start with Disneyland. First thing they talked about was the 70th anniversary, big celebration that's happening. That's really no huge surprise. They celebrate everything. They also announced the date for the opening of Tiana's Bayou Adventure, which we all knew was coming because we knew that they were currently under construction with that, but that's going to be on November 15th.
Something interesting that I noticed just before we started recording is that Tiana's Bayou Adventure, with its opening, they are renaming Critter Country.
Okay.
It's going to be renamed to Bayou Country.
Interesting. So I assume they're just going to lump Winnie the Pooh into that then.
I know they're doing other work, like they're sort of redoing the Hungry Bear restaurant, making it Country Bear Jamboree themed.
Right.
I don't know. It feels like it's just kind of become an extension of New Orleans Square.
Yeah, it's kind of lost its originality and they're just kind of swallowing it up.
Yeah, which makes Winnie the Pooh's inclusion there still odd, but also it still sort of fits because they're trying to keep some of that original Bear Country stuff. So I don't really know what to make of that thematically.
Yeah, for those that don't know which ride we're speaking of, it's the Mini Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, which they also have a version of in Florida. But the one in Disneyland is a little more interesting. It's built into the side of a hill, and it looks like it's more of a natural thing other than just a ride building, which is kind of cool. But yeah, so I guess this whole area is just going to be the bayou now. So I guess maybe Winnie the Pooh is going to be floating around and eating some gumbo in the in the ride. I don't know. I guess we'll have to see how that all pans out. The biggest announcement out of Disneyland is a bit of a controversy here in our family. It's called Walt Disney: A Magical Life. It is going to be the first time that Walt Disney himself is going to be turned into an animatronic. How do we feel about that?
There are a lot of ways to take this. Upon initially hearing it, to me, something about it just feels off.
Sure.
I it's really hard to explain, but it feels uncanny in a way that I don't feel when looking at a lot of their other audio animatronics of real people, like Abraham Lincoln or a lot of the other presidents in Hall of Presidents. Something about that doesn't feel weird to me, but
The presidents don't feel weird to you.
yeah, but this one feels weird. I don't know if it's a recency thing, like Walt Disney was alive too recently to see something like this.
Meaning people alive right now actually knew Walt. It's not like anybody knew Abraham Lincoln.
Right. So it feels just really off-putting in a way that is really hard for me to properly quantify and explain.
No, I agree. I agree. Ultimately, I think it'll probably be very well done, and we will get used to it. It's going to share the same show building as Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln, and apparently they're going to switch between these two shows throughout the operating day.
Yeah, a little while ago, a permit was filed to install a turntable in that building. So on one side of the turntable, you'll have Lincoln, and then on the other side, you'll have Walt.
Laura, your mother, she commented that she doesn't think this is a very big deal. She thinks it's just perfectly fine. I think it's going to remain to be seen how this is portrayed, but I'm sure that it will be done very well. They did say in the documentation and the presentation that it is fully supported and approved by the Disney family. So I guess if we need to have a stamp of approval, there it is.
Yeah, like you said, I just need to see how this ends up being because, again, I'm still in that initial this feels weird phase.
Well, nobody
Um,
saw this one coming. This was an announcement that I don't think there were any really whispers about, other than the fact that they had filed for that rotating table.
yeah, so I think people started to theorize that's what was coming, and then
Oh, okay.
obviously
I hadn't seen
those
that.
yeah, those theories ended up coming true. I think a lot of people are very happy about this. I think we are a bit more in the minority with feeling off put about it a little
Right.
bit. It's just the idea of like Walt made these audio animatronics and now he has become one himself feels very Black Mirror.
Correct. All right, we've got a lot of stuff to get to here. We tend to
Yeah.
pontificate when we speak, so we've got to keep this thing moving to get to all these topics. So let's move over to Disney's California Adventure, also in the Disneyland Resort.
It's getting a
Um,
lot more attention
it is.
than Disneyland proper.
It is. Particularly for this D23 here. Yeah, they're gonna double the size of Avengers Campus, where they currently have two attractions right now.
Yeah, they have Mission Breakout and then the Spider-Man Web Slingers,
Correct.
along with the little Doctor Strange
The show.
stage show, and then they have the Pym Test Kitchen. So
Restaurant.
Avengers Campus has a decent number of offerings, but it is still relatively small. It's clearly in the first phase of its life.
Yeah, so this second phase, they're going to be adding two new attractions, and both of them sound like e-ticket attractions to me. One of them is called Avengers Infinity Defense. This is one that they had mentioned a couple years ago, involving King Thanos, I believe.
Yes. So the original idea for this attraction was you were supposed to be flying with the Avengers as they like with like little jet you're supposed to have like a little jetpack and like
Okay,
fly around with them as they did some kind of battle. It was roughly called the Avengers Quinjet attraction
that's
for the
right.
long. And then as the multiverse saga of the MCU continued, the idea for the ride shifted to a multiverse centric thing where all of the heroes across the multiverse are teaming up to fight King Thanos, who has become a multiversal threat.
Yeah, I had totally forgotten about that attraction, and they also made a point of showing off the new ride vehicle for this particular attraction. It looks like it's going to be a trackless dark ride, judging by the
Yeah,
look of the vehicle.
I think so. It looks, and with how the vehicle looks, I think this ride is going to be heavily screen based.
Okay, that would make sense.
If anyone is familiar with Universal, you'll be familiar with the Spider-Man ride they have there. The way this Avengers ride looks with the ride vehicle, it strikes me as something that's going to be very similar to that, where like you will ride through a transitional physical set, and then it'll put you in front of another screen where it will be somewhat motion sim based.
Right, and it'll probably be a curved screen so you can kind of be in the center of it.
And they've said that this attraction is going to be, like I said, spanning the multiverse, spanning all kinds of different locations. Have we said the title of this attraction?
Yeah, Avengers Infinity Defense.
Right. And then the other attraction that is coming with this Avengers Campus expansion, at least the Avengers Campus over in California, the
Correct.
other Marvel properties across the globe are getting different expansions, which we can touch on, but they're much smaller in scale.
I think we need to stick to the United States based parks, or this is going to be a 2 hour long podcast.
Fair enough. The other experience coming to Avengers Campus is they're calling it the Stark Flight Lab,
And they're bringing back Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark for this attraction. He's going to film new footage as Tony Stark. So I guess that Doctor Doom contract must have extended to the Disney parks and experiences.
right. And from the concept art, it looks like this attraction is going to be on a Kuka arm, which is a bit hard to explain if you've never seen one. But if you think of how like robot arms look in factories that help build cars, it's kind of like that. And then they're going to attach a seat to the end of it that you will sit in.
Right. I think it's going to be did they say it was going to be a 2-person ride vehicle?
Yeah, it's a two-person ride vehicle. Interesting how similar this concept is to the original idea for the Avengers e-ticket.
Yeah.
Something I didn't catch the first time around, but have now seen it looking more into the concept art. This attraction is going to be outdoors.
Is it really? Hadn't seen that part of the art yet.
If you look at the concept art for the entrance area for Infinity Defense, the new big ride, right next to it is the Stark Flight Lab, which looks to be totally outside.
That's interesting. I'm wondering how that's going to work.
Yeah, so it looks sort of like a mini attraction that you'll just be able to queue up for. I don't know. I guess if the other ride is too busy. So
maybe this won't be an e-ticket and be more of a small ride. I was assuming it was going to be a big e-ticket, sort of like, because they use the same mechanism over in Universal for the Hogwarts Castle ride.
Yeah. No, this looks very, very small in scale.
Okay.
And I mean, there's no screen in front of it, so it's not going to be like the previous Sum of All Thrills that was in Epcot.
Interesting. I wonder if this is going to be sort of a Tony Stark-esque Dumbo thing. You know what I mean? Just an outdoor.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm gathering. It looks like it's going to simulate what it's like to fly in an Iron Man suit, except you're not going to have like the screen overlay. You're just going to be sitting in a Kuka arm while it throws you around.
Interesting. So so that's going to be interesting to see how that actually works out.
I think Avengers Campus does need a smaller ticket attraction.
It does.
Like that.
So let's get to the other announcement for DCA, Coco.
Yeah, this is another, not surprise, but surprised to hear that it's going in DCA.
Yeah, it was originally going to be part of this Beyond Big Thunder thing for Magic Kingdom, and now it looks like they've moved it to DCA.
Yeah, I'm not sure where it's going to go. They acted like this one's a little bit farther off in terms of production.
Mm-hmm.
I would not be surprised if it is part of the Disneyland Forward project and ends up being in a expansion area that is not currently, I don't know, very visible to us.
No, I bet you're right. They're also, they say here, they're going to be developing an Avatar land with a ride based on the movie The Way of Water. This is supposed to be a much smaller scale Avatar than they have in Disney World, correct?
Yeah, the concept art they have for this definitely seems to be a smaller like land, considering this is going to be the only ride that's in there at least right now.
Right.
The based on the concept art and based at what the vehicle they have showed for this, it's going to be a boat ride.
Okay.
And the all the tech they have they're sort of showing off in the concept art. This looks exactly to a T like the tech they used in Shanghai Disney's Pirates ride.
Okay. Which is actually really cool.
Yeah, which means the boat itself is going to have a lot of additional mobility, and there are going to be a lot of large rooms that have very immersive screens. So this is going to be another combination of big immersive screens and then some physical sets as well.
All right. Well, let's move along to Epcot. There's not a ton going on at Epcot.
Yeah,
Um,
Epcot's done enough recently.
yeah, they just barely got themselves out of their deep, dark pit hole that they had for 5 years. They are currently working on Test Track. They're saying that the new Test Track 3.0 will be open in 2025, which I think
Um,
we kind of already knew.
yeah, they haven't said a lot about this, even with this D23 that just happened. We know it's going to be loosely inspired by World of Motion, which was the
The
attraction
original
that,
attraction, yeah.
and I think they did say a little bit more that, yes, new scene. This is from Disney Parks blog
Okay.
with their announcement. It says that new show scenes will be added, showcasing technological advances and how our lifestyles and relationships to mobility connect everyone. Enjoy a ride through scenes focusing on onboard technology, customization, and personalization, followed by a trip through a scenic outdoor route, reminding us all of the joys of driving, taking in the world around us, and spending quality time with friends and family.
That will be the speed loop on the outside of the building.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like. They have also announced that Spaceship Earth will be getting a lounge overlooking the Waltz statue at Dreamer's Point. I guess they're repurposing um, the sponsor of the ride, Siemens, their old executive um, little facility there, a little bar they had for their executives. I guess they're going to retheme it and open it to the public.
Yes, so this will be essentially on the second floor of the post-show building for Spaceship Earth.
Okay, that's going to be kind of
And that,
nice.
yeah, that'll look out towards World Showcase Lagoon. I've seen people comparing this a lot to the previous festival center.
Oh, the one
How,
that was going to be above the walkway.
yeah, that this lounge seems like a remnant of like, because that was supposed to have a private lounge in it as well.
Right.
The elevated building that was canceled.
So it sounds like they're going to, like I've always said 1,000 times, Disney never throws away an idea. So they're going to recycle that idea, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Let's hop on over to Animal Kingdom. Quite a bit of this we already knew about, but they were giving a little more specifics. The tropical Americas area over where Dino Land used to be, in a town that's going to be called Pueblo Esperanza. And they're going to
I
focus on Encanto.
Yes, I believe this. I believe the town name translates to something like the like town of Hope or the like Plaza of Hope or something like that.
Okay.
So this is going to be the fictional South American town that is the central area connecting the two different IPs that are going in.
All right. And so it looks like it's going to be an Encanto boat ride.
Yeah, it's hard to say for sure because the concept art isn't very clear, and what they didn't really give any clear details about what it was going to be like.
Well, yeah, they
Um,
showed people riding the ride, but they didn't show the bottom of the vehicle, and it, that showed the family from Encanto waving at everybody. But it appeared to be a boat, but I suppose it could also be a ride vehicle.
yeah, they have talked about a boat ride for that area when Moana was briefly discussed to go in there. So they may still be working on that water ride idea. I feel like an Encanto ride is really well suited for a trackless dark ride.
Yes,
Um,
I agree.
I know that they've said that like you're going to be able to see the full casita from the film, and it's supposed to be alive and moving constantly like it does in the film.
The casita,
I
which is, of course, their house.
Yeah, I've heard that the ride vehicles are supposed to look like the casita has like manifested furniture from around the house that you're riding in.
Okay.
So that's kind of a fun ride vehicle idea. But yeah, the ride system itself is very up in the air.
Also in this area, to go along with the South American theme, the other IP, because you were talking about two IPs, it's going to be Indiana Jones, and it's going to go into the old dinosaur ride building.
Yes, it looks like it's going to be the same ride tech, that same kind of Jeep experience. But unlike the one in Disneyland, which is a carbon copy of Dinosaur just with the Indiana Jones story and overlay on it,
Right.
this looks like they're probably going to keep the same track, but
Hmm.
this looks like it will be an entirely original story.
Well, I'm glad they're going to give us an original story as opposed to a plug and play.
Yeah.
It's nice to have different reasons to go to different coasts here in the US.
Yeah, and that's something they've been doing a lot more recently that I've appreciated. It looks like for this Indiana Jones ride, Indy is exploring this Mayan temple, which is rumored to have a mythical creature somewhere within it. So that's how they're tying it to Animal Kingdom.
Okay, let's move on to the other attraction they're talking about at Animal Kingdom. It's Zootopia. They're going to replace the It's Tough to Be a Bug in the theater beneath the Tree of Life. We kind of knew about this one, I believe.
We did. I believe this Zootopia change is supposed to open next winter, is what they're saying.
This will be a relatively quick exchange, I imagine.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how they do it because, as it is, Bug's Life is a very natural fit for being under the Tree of Life.
Correct.
So I will be very interested to see how they make this change to Zootopia and how they're going to justify it within the experience itself.
Right. I mean, are they going to be able to make it fit? I mean, Zootopia, animal based, Tree of Life, animal based, but will it feel like it belongs? I guess that's the question.
Yeah, it's supposed to be, from what they've said, it's supposed to be a tour through Zootopia, viewing all of the other areas of town that were not shown in the main film. So yeah, I'm just not sure how that's going to work because this isn't a ride; it's a show.
Right.
So how are we going to move from point A to point B? I don't know.
I assume it's also still be a 3D film.
Most likely, we're just gonna have to see.
All right, so let's move on to Hollywood Studios. And quite frankly, we thought the biggest announcements were going to come regarding the Magic Kingdom, and they sort of did. But Hollywood Studios, man, they really threw us a curveball. Let's just get right to it. Monstropolis. They're going to bring a Monsters Inc. themed land to Hollywood Studios.
I would just like to say that everything we've talked about thus far and the stuff that we are going to talk about after this for the Magic Kingdom, I had heard rumors and pretty good indications that all of these things were happening.
Right.
I heard absolutely nothing about this Monsters Inc. land. This is a total surprise.
Yeah, I also had heard zero rumblings about this. It was truly the biggest surprise of the entire D23 theme park panel. So the other thing we talked about today before we started to record is, where is this going to be?
Yeah, I think the most likely location is going to be Animation Courtyard.
Mm-hmm.
The concept art for this area very much looks like Animation Courtyard, and that's an area of the park that we know that Disney has been wanting to tackle and change or revamp, whatever.
For those that don't exactly know where this is located, if you're facing the Chinese theater and you're standing in that esplanade there, it is directly to your right, and it's got the big archway that says Disney Hollywood Studios on it. It's where the old Star Wars launch bay used to be, and the Disney Junior show and the Little Mermaid show. But really, there's nothing there right now.
Yeah. So they are, I guess, turning it into a Monstropolis. You'll be able to walk into the world of the film.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be the entire city. And the e-ticket ride is going to be one that we have heard them talk about for years about building this ride, but we didn't know where it would be. It's going to be the Door Vault Suspended Coaster Ride. based on the end of the first film.
The fact that Disney is making a suspended roller coaster is so cool. I feel like that is one of the elements of this I am most excited about, because in general when Disney builds roller coasters, they tend to make pretty standard style roller coasters.
Right.
So to hear that they're doing a suspended coaster, that's super um, different for them. I'm really excited to see that. And from the concept art, I think this is really neat. It looks like they're acting like the ride vehicle itself is being powered by the screen canisters.
Nice.
Like it looks like the screen canisters are firing off, and the energy that is coming out of them is strong enough to propel you through this door vault.
It's going to be Disney's first suspended coaster anywhere in the world. So that's
Yeah,
super exciting.
this and just today at the Imagineering Pavilion at D23, they revealed a concept model for what the interior of this ride is going to look like.
Cool.
Yeah, it's very hard to tell because it's a very simple looking model, but I mean, at least it's showing more concrete evidence that this is happening and here's what we're thinking.
And so that everybody knows what we're talking about, we'll put a link to the Disney Parks blog article in the show notes so they can see all this stuff for themselves.
Yeah, so on top of this big e-ticket, which will take you into the titular Monsters Incorporated building, it looks like there are also going to be copious shopping and dining opportunities within this new land as well.
I'm hoping for a Harryhausen's restaurant.
Yeah, the concept art seems to indicate that they want to build a Harryhausen's, which would be a lot of fun.
That'd be really cool if they had that octopus-style monster animatronic in the lobby preparing the sushi for everybody.
Oh, absolutely.
The other update for Hollywood Studios is one that we're kind of meh about because we've been kind of meh about this ride all along, although I do love the Millennium Falcon. Smuggler's Run is going to get a new adventure featuring Mandalorian and Grogu.
Yeah, I think we can probably look at a 2026 release date for this new update to the ride to coincide with the release of the new film.
Yeah.
And it's a little up in the air right now whether this will be fully replacing the current mission that you go on,
Right.
or if this is going to be a like rotational thing where you don't really know which one you're going to get.
My guess is if it's going to be a rotational for the first few months, it'll just be the new experience. So everybody gets a chance to ride it. And then perhaps they will rotate the two missions, much like our experience in Disney World this year with Star Tours. We were all excited about the new footage they incorporated into the Star Tours attraction with the Mandalorian and Grogu and Ahsoka and all this other stuff. We rode it. Did we ride it twice, 3 times?
We rode it twice.
And we got the same show 2 times in a row, and none of it was new.
I have no idea what the statistical odds of that are, but that was crazy.
Yeah, that was definitely crazy. So I guess we'll have to see how this Mando and Grogu overlay works out. If it's going to be 2 separate shows or just going to erase it and make a brand new show. We'll have to see. Now, we're going to move on to the Magic Kingdom, where we thought that's where the biggest news was going to be, but I'm going to have to say that Monstropolis was the biggest news. So let's quickly go through the Magic Kingdom list here. We've got a new nighttime parade called Disney's Starlight. They haven't had a nighttime parade in several years, so it's exciting they're going to bring one back, I assume with lights and lasers and sound and music.
Yeah, people have been really clamoring for a new nighttime parade. And if it's anything like the nighttime parades they've been rolling out in Disneyland the past couple of years, I think this parade will be really spectacular to see.
Yeah, I'm really excited about a nighttime parade. They also announced a small version of Cars Land with 2 attractions.
Yeah, this is going to be really interesting because we do have a full Cars Land over in Disney's California Adventure.
Which, by the way, if you haven't seen, it is one of the few times in a Disney park where I'm like, I feel like I am in this movie. I hope they do that same treatment with Monstropolis, but the Disneyland Cars Land is absolutely incredible for those who haven't seen it.
And this looks like it's not going to be a full Cars land. It looks more like a mini land that is going to be an extension of Frontierland. They haven't said about all the things it's going to include, but they have confirmed that two new attractions will be coming to this area. One of which seems to be a very similar ride system to Radiator Springs Racers, which is the main e-ticket over in Cars Land proper. It's a very similar ride system to Test Track.
Hmm.
And it looks like the difference with this one is you're going to be going on some wild off-roading adventure through the wilderness.
Yeah, and it looks like it's going to be sort of based on the Great Northwest as opposed to the buttes and the desert that we normally see in the first Cars film.
Yeah, the concept art they're showing here even includes the cars going up into a little snow-capped mountain.
That'll be interesting to see. And I guess they're also going to have a kids ride, which they only showed, I think, in the concept art, one photograph or art piece of art for. And
Yes.
it looks like it's going to be some sort of a vehicle ride. Is it going to be an Autopia clone, perhaps? An interactive Autopia?
It definitely looks more advanced than an Autopia. It looks like sort of a miniature racing derby kind of thing.
Yeah.
This certainly, I mean, the stuff they announced for this Cars expansion seems a bit more nebulous at the moment. However, we likely won't have to wait too long to find out more information about this because they've said that work on this new area is going to start in early 2025, which is a lot closer than you think.
Yeah, they're going to get right to it. So let's get to the big elephant in the room for the Magic Kingdom. The thing that I thought was probably going to be the biggest announcement, but I really feel like it was overshadowed by Monstropolis. Although everybody wants to see this, it's Villains Land.
Yeah, they have been kicking around the idea for Villains Land even before they did the Blue Sky announcement a couple years ago.
The Beyond Big Thunder announcement.
Yeah, but this is their concrete way of saying we are building Villains Land, and it's likely going to go on the far side of the Rivers of America, in the very back of the park. They haven't said much about this area yet. They're probably still figuring out some of the details.
I assume this will probably be one of the later things they do in the construction process. This may be the last thing they do, I bet, just judging on the amount of stuff they've announced.
They've said that they are planning two big attractions for it, but what those attractions are going to be, we really don't know. According to the concept art, it looks like there is some kind of a roller coaster in the works. Some specifically like Maleficent, Sleeping Beauty themed roller coaster.
Nice.
But it's hard to say. They really haven't given away too much information about Villains Land.
Which leads me to believe that this will definitely be the last thing on their construction docket, I imagine. Although people are super excited about Villains Land. They've been talking about this. Gosh, it was talked about long before Galaxy's Edge was ever built. It was talked about before Cars Land and Disneyland was ever built. And people have been clamoring for this for years. And the Disney Villains is a huge franchise in the Disney universe. People love the Disney Villains.
Yeah, so I think we have good reason to believe that they're probably going to go all out with this land.
I think it'll probably ended up being in a very incredible location. Quickly, before we get out of here, one thing that I did see this morning, there was some speculation about where all of this stuff in the Magic Kingdom was going to go. The Cars Land, this huge, we assume huge Villains Land. Is there a possibility we will lose part of the Rivers of America, Tom Sawyer Island, and get rid of the steamboat? What do you think about that? Do you think they would do that?
I think they're going to do something similar to what they did in Disneyland. So Disneyland still has their Tom Sawyer Island. They
Hmm.
still have the riverboat. I think they're going to do something similar where whenever they put Galaxy's Edge into Disneyland, they shortened the Rivers of America and took out the northern section of Tom Sawyer Island, which was the fort.
Okay.
My guess is they're going to do something similar to that, where they shorten the Rivers of America, take out the northern fort section, and then keep the rest of it.
That would make sense because I can't
Um,
imagine Frontierland without the riverboat. I mean, that is
and
just so iconic.
and yeah, and this may be a bit of a stretch, but in the concept art they showed for Villains Land, the front of this does have a water portion that could be maybe the northern edge of the Rivers of America, but it's really hard to say.
We're going to have to see what comes and see how all this comes together. But at the end of the day, I am super excited about most all of these announcements. I really am.
This gives me a lot of hope for the future of the parks, which I looked a little bit uncertain because Disney had certainly been lacking in a lot of regards to the theme park experience. But when they said we are investing $60 billion into our theme park division, I think they meant it.
Yep. So it looks like that Universal is really going to have to bring it with their Epic Universe.
Yeah,
But
I think all of these expansions are definitely their answer to Epic Universe.
but that could be a topic for the family chat for another day. So to wrap this up, a big thank you to Zach for joining us from his undisclosed bunker in the Echo Base Studios in Chicago.
Of course, it's always a pleasure to be here, and especially for something like this. There's so much to say. We couldn't even cover it all here. It's just crazy.
I know we are so excited. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Hey, future Mark here. The morning after Zach and I recorded our family chat, some important information was posted to the Disney Parks blog that was relevant to our conversation, and I really thought it needed to be included here. During our chat, I mentioned some rumblings about the new Cars Land being located in the current Tom Sawyer Island Rivers of America area. Well, Disney made it official early this morning on the Disney Parks blog. They posted concept art and an article all about where Cars Land was going to be located. And it looks like they are planning to completely remove Tom Sawyer Island as well as removing the Rivers of America. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not somebody who fears change, but I feel like removing the Rivers of America and the riverboat is really going to hurt the overall Frontierland vibe. It looks like, according to the concept art, the whole Cars area is going to resemble the Great Northwest. At the end of the day, I'm just wondering how is it going to transition from the architecture of the Haunted Mansion in Liberty Square area over to the Cars area themed to the Great Northwest, and then moving into the Bayou over near Tiana, and then back to the southwest of the United States with Big Thunder Mountain. I don't know how they can make that a smooth transition. With the recent closure of the shooting arcade to become a DVC lounge and the redo of the Country Bear Jamboree show, maybe this signals the complete removal of Frontierland altogether, leading to a complete transformation of the area into the Great Northwest. I don't know. Regardless of how it's going to happen, it's happening because they plan on filing their construction plans within the next few days. They plan on breaking ground on the new Cars area in early 2025, so if you want to catch one more ride on the riverboat, you better do it sooner rather than later. But no matter what happens, the team here at Mickey, Marvel, and More will keep you posted with all of the major theme park updates coming our way, so stay tuned. Thanks so much for joining us for another episode of Mickey, Marvel, and More. Before we exit stage left for this episode, let's give out a big thank you to Zach for hanging out with us in the family chat. There was a lot to break down from D23, and we got to most of it. But I'm sure in the coming months, as work begins on various projects, there will be more to talk about. Don't worry though, we'll have you covered here on Mickey, Marvel, and More. For a little more info, be sure to check out the show notes for links to all of the D23 announcements. And while you're there, check out the links for all of our socials and give us a like, comment, or follow. If you want to add to the conversation, drop us an email at mickeymarvelandmore, all one word, at gmail.com. And if we read your email during an episode, you'll become an official friend of the show. I know that I don't have to tell you this, but that looks really good on a resume. As always, if you enjoyed this episode, my name is Mark, and this has been Mickey Marvel and More. If you didn't, my name is Quint, and this has been Tying Knots with Quint. Tune in next week for the evolution of the sheepshank. That be a real nail biter. We'll see you next time.